In QTV this morning, I am Ibrahim Abalde. We are back again on another edition of your program. So wherever you're watching this program, thank you for joining us. And we are about to delve into some of the stories making headlines. As the usual program lineup, we'll take a look at the African Code, from the Code and the newspaper review. And from the review, we'll be doing our segment called You and the Law. And from You and the Law, we'll engage Imam Usman Jah of the Taqwa Mosque, and we'll be continuing where we stopped, Islam and politics. As you know, he was about to complete a very interesting narration, but due to time constraint, few weeks back, we have to cut that program short. So there'll be a continuation of Islam and politics by Usman Jah. But first of all, before we delve into that, I'll introduce the co-host of this program, Mr. Momodu Mboj. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Good. How have you been? How was you yesterday?
Boy, thank God, man.
Everything is going well.
Yes, everything is going well.
Alhamdulillah. You know, you have to be grateful of the little things and the things that we take for granted sometimes. It's important for us to take a look at it. We are waking up in the morning and coming to work. Some people are waking up in the morning and rushing to hospital, I mean, to go and check themselves. I mean, so thank God we are grateful. Mr. Momodu Mboj, Raila Odinga, we've learned of his demise this morning. I mean, Raila was a prominent Kenyan politician, public figure, a former prime minister of Kenya. And of course, he has been one of the most influential enduring figures in Kenyan politics for several decades. And he was born in 7 January 1945.
Yes, 8 years this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and from a political dynasty as well, you know, the Odingas and the Kenyattas, as it were. So his father was really one of the founding fathers. Was really
Jaramogi.
Too. Yes,
that's the father.
Exactly. So yes, it's a big loss in many ways. One of the heavyweights of really African politics. Really.
Yeah, we have a video to show.
But I'm here as the African lion. I've been asleep in the jungles of the Congo. But now I'm awake.
Good morning.
And I'm sitting in African gold, African oil, African diamonds, African iron and copper ores. I'm sitting in African bauxite. I'm sitting on African lithium and coltan and uranium. And I have the ability to transform all these materials that I have into wealth for the benefit of my people and claim the 21st century as an African century. End of the message from African Lion.
A new chapter in African leadership beckons. Raila Odinga's message of unity and progress echoed across Southern Africa. From Zimbabwe to Namibia, Botswana to South Africa, Lesotho and Mozambique, Raila Odinga shared his vision of a united Africa characterized by peace, prosperity, and sustainable progress for all. In all his engagements with the presidents and heads of government, Odinga expounded on his agenda for Africa, hinged on 9 priority areas: economic transformation, enhancing intra-Africa trade, financial independence, gender equity and equality, climate action, peace and security, harnessing youth potential, and continental integration. Raila's engagements with the African leaders demonstrates his diplomatic and advocacy skills and his commitment to building partnerships to advance African interests. Raila's quest is not just about leadership, it's about connecting our people, our dreams, and our future. Together, we shall build the African Union our continent deserves. Raila's vision for Africa is the beginning of a beautiful story, not of one man's ambition, but of a continent's aspiration. As the sun sets on this diplomatic tour in Southern Africa, it rises on Africa's promise of tomorrow, a united Africa defined by peace, prosperity, and sustainable progress for all.
We are back. You're watching QTV This Morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. Now let's move on. We have Seth Mati Jau in the studios with us, and he is the newspaper review. Yeah, Seth review guest rather. Seth Mati, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Balde. Thank you for having me. Yeah. And good morning, Mr. Mbut.
Yes, good morning. Seth Mati.
Good, good.
Yeah, so you've met us at the midst of a short documentary that we were watching about Raila Odinga of Kenya, a very famous and influential politician who played great roles in trying to unite Africa. And he passed away, and news reached us this morning. It's a big loss for people of Kenya and Africa as a large.
Yeah, definitely. I'm extending my sincere condolences to the people of Kenya. I think this is a big loss, not only to Kenya, but also to the continent. Because I think the last time, I even thought it was, I didn't get the news. I even thought it was just this, the campaign that he was doing for the African Union chairmanship, which we have also seen. But I think in the politics of Kenya, but more broadly the politics of Africa, Raila is a household name in the continent, and so may his soul rest in peace.
Yes,
absolutely. Part of a political dynasty started with his father, didn't it? Really.
So, I mean, trying to unite Africa, the African Union, I mean, do you think, what they've been advocating for, they've achieved it? The Nelson Mandela, the Raila Odinga, and the likes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole idea of African unity or union, started in the 60s, post-independence conversation. And so far, there's a lot to be desired. This other group, they have moved a little bit in terms of, today you are talking about African free trade issues. Those things are coming up, but then the whole agenda of African unity, I mean, a lot of people are questioning even what's the essence of African Union today. So it seems like there's some progress, but there's also a lot of challenges that this new generation, maybe perhaps the idea of the whole Pan-African idea that led to the establishment of this organization is slowly, giving way to survival.
Yeah, you see, Seth Mati, sometimes I tend to ask this question, where have we gone wrong as a continent? I mean, you go to other, places, other continents. I mean, you see how they are moving by day. Every second, these people are moving. But we're still talking about uniting Africa. We're still talking about free movement of goods and people within Africa.
But just before you come in, that's a very interesting way of characterizing it. This sort of negative narrative that we've gone wrong, I think that's a very weird perspective. It's more like, how far have we come? It's always work in progress. Each generation will contribute what you need to contribute. Because the beginnings, be careful here. We talk about African culture, African this, African that. There are African cultures. There are so many different parties, interests that you have to unite. Nothing is taken for granted. Sometimes we talk as if there is this blood consciousness of Africans, but it's a myth. It's mythical. In the real political world, it takes time to form unions of really different peoples. You don't have one.
But how long does it
Even in Gambia, we have different peoples.
Other countries? How long does it take other people to get to where they are?
Britain was last invaded apparently in 1066. It took them centuries to be ruling themselves. In the US, they had their independence 1776, centuries. Any established democracy today, it really took them centuries to build. You are talking about Gambia, 60 years. And what do you expect? What do you expect to achieve in 60 years?
I think his point is also comparing other regional blocs like the EU, in Asia, those regional blocks, the way that they have been able to evolve is relatively faster.
That's what I'm talking about.
But again,
some people will tell you,
Yeah.
the EU, the idea of an EU
Yeah.
started with the writings of Erasmus. Politics cutting onto that. The
Of course.
cultural
Aspect,
embedding
yes,
was in it,
yes.
because for a very long time, all European, the educated European, you are learning the same thing,
Yeah,
similar.
yeah.
So a sense of identity was created much earlier, centuries before the politics came in.
So then
let us be
it
careful.
becomes easier
It
for
becomes
people
easier.
to see themselves as Europeans,
That's
you know.
We are in that process.
Well,
Yeah.
the only thing that I know, the pace that we are moving, is a very slow pace.
I'm not
Yeah, but
sure
then
about that.
some will say, well, we have moved
Not sure
rapidly.
about that. Oh,
Because,
yes.
like, you know, like even if you look at the AU, from OAU then to AU, there was a little bit of transformation. Before, they were not talking about non-intervention in internal, political issues, but now they're doing those kind of stuff. So there's a lot of progress that has happened. But I also think like they have a new agenda, which is Agenda 2063, that, I mean, is thinking about all of us and the next generation. So I feel like sometimes these institutions sound as toothless bulldogs, or they behave as a toothless bulldog. But that also depends on the fact that they are made up of African countries, and each country with all your own reality now, mix and blend in at the continental level is always problematic. And I don't know. I'm not seeing, leaders that were as determined as the previous generation, the founding fathers. But it means that the idea is still there. It's still there, but I mean, yeah.
Yes, it's just that maybe the idealism, as it were, got buried under the rubble of experience,
Yeah.
the terrible, bad experiences. So the idealism is almost gone. Now we are so cynical, just as that view, or we have failed,
Yes.
or this or that. I'm like, I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, because sometimes we feel like some of these processes are like a journey, that where it has a starting point and a stopping point. But in the world of politics, everything evolves. Things grow, things change, things move. So, I mean, so every institution must cater for those kind of changes. And for me, as long as you are there, you are flexible, you can maneuver and survive. I mean, you are an evolving institution. An institution must evolve, not stagnate. Not stagnate, yeah.
All right, so let's move on. Let's take a look at the Standards newspaper. And on the...
you don't have a quote today.
On one of the Raila Odinga thing,
So that was it. You
we're
took
going to
everything.
use that, yes. Dusano declines to comment on tractor issue, but vows to face parliamentary panel. I mean, this is, it is alleged that Dusano, before the announcement of the sales of Jammeh's properties, Dusano took a tractor, without even declaring it for a very long time, until the commission realized it. So now he's supposed to face the parliamentary panel.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I think this is the essence of the parliamentary select committee being established. Basically, is to go to the bottom of the problem, and put into account, or brought to the forelight the people that have either way, or directly or indirectly been part of the resale of Jammeh's asset. And I think anybody that has been part of that should respond to parliamentary inquiry. And good that he's not commenting to the media, but definitely, the media will get his side of the story when he goes to the parliament. So that should be part of the process. Yeah.
Well, I mean, from a political, we can call him a political leader. I mean, someone who advised the president on political issues. I mean, being involved in such kind of acts, allegedly. We'll definitely love to know how the process, went.
Yeah, and I think he has this opportunity to explain himself, and then for us also to be able to have that clarity. Maybe it's still just an allegation. But I think with the questioning and answers, questioning from the parliamentary committee, we'll be able to know what his role was and to what extent, and who gave him the tractors, because those are all issues that the public are interested in knowing. And yes, given his role, it is also expected that,
Yesterday, I watched a video on Essa Fall was mentioning to the public, okay, ñu ne am na tractor bu riir xam ngeen ku ko jël, you understand? So I mean, he keeps throwing shots all the time on that sort. So Barrow refused. I refused to withdraw for Dr. Toure because she refused to be a UDP candidate on the main headline of the Standard.
I think he's talking about the story of Coalition 2016.
Coalition 2016.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was the agenda. I mean, because there was a movement that was trying to bring in Dr. Toure as the coalition candidate, given that she was she was from civil society, she was not traditionally political politician, so she was also an agenda on the 2016 campaign. But unfortunately, at some point, she decided to run away and then later joined again the coalition. So I think Barrow is just trying to explain what happened at that time, and that was like 2016, long history.
And I once interviewed Hussein Dawo, we talked about this. He said actually his choice in 2016 to lead was Dr. Issatou Toure. But it was the party that vetoed, as it were, that decision.
Yeah, because she was not traditional politician.
Yes, and she wasn't a member of the UDP. So it would have been very odd. You know, you've got your membership, and then you bring somebody from outside to lead it. That would have been very odd. So the party rejected that.
Yeah. But that's why the idea was to have political parties to back Dr. Toure as an independent candidate. Because I remember I was in Norway at that time, and I was on the TV, you know, talking about Dr. Toure and his background, and I know the agenda that was set for her role. But of course, I think there's water under the bridge now. Who refused to give way or not? Now we have President Barrow, and Dr. Toure was a vice president, so at least.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So government explained reason for suspending Tanjev and Batakunko Alkalo. I mean, the other day we discussed. I said, why not the Alkalo should be chosen by the village? I mean, why is it going to be a political appointment now? I mean, we have politicized these things, and Alkalo used to be a traditional leader of a village.
Yeah, I think still is a traditional leader. It's just that still now they've been incorporated into the so-called modern governance system, in the sense that the ministry, through the governor, will have a chance to, through the governor or chief, has a responsibility to suspend, and some cases even to remove, but I don't know to the extent which these are legal, they have the legal mandate to do that, because alcalos are traditional authorities, traditional institutions and all that. But over the period, the Local Government Act, or all these different acts, have given powers to the political leadership. That's why alcalos, to a certain extent, are dragged into the political scheme. Alcalos, chiefs, traditional authority in general. But I think the issue at hand now is some sort of conflict around land issues. I don't know whether there is investigation that is ongoing. But I think that area, Batakunko in particular, has been a troublesome zone for land disputes over the period. And since the ministry is also implementing its land reforms, I'm not sure whether that is part of the steps that they are taking to address some of those issues. But alcalos, for me, they have to be given their traditional due.
Now, that's an interesting one. I think that the alcalos are really part of the problem of the land issues, one. Yeah. Secondly, traditional, going how far back, when you talk to Hausum Sise, this was the alcalos chiefs, they are part of the architecture of colonialism.
Of course.
Yes, you had societies here that had kings and queens, but these whole new levels of chiefs, alcalos, they were just part of the panoply of colonialism. So it doesn't really have that longevity that they claim to have. I disagree with that. Let us sort of change it in a way that it will suit our modern age. Right now, anybody to hold public office, we want democratic processes in place so that you can hold public office. A dynastic, this kind of dynastic political arrangements, I think that's really dated. That's an obsolete idea, and it doesn't serve anybody.
I mean, that's an interesting perspective. But then today, if you ask the people will still, they're still attached to this traditional system of governance.
I like what Atatürk once said. For the people, despite the people. I am not going to follow the people all the time. Then I'm not a leader. I'm just a populist. I just look at a group, look at the direction in which they are running. Then I run and stand in front, pretend to be a leader. That's not a leader.
I mean, but I think this also has been part of the debate. What should we do with our traditional institutions? Should we just push them aside? Should we just democratize them? Because even at some point the chieftaincy issue was, even though traditional, but it was put into some democratic process where people have to be elected. Those issues were there, but definitely is a relic of the colonial past, particularly the chiefs. The alcalos, one can say, well, every village must have a head, but I mean, these are all part of the colonial relics, and their powers have also been reduced over the period.
And tradition. I once talked to university professor here. I think he was from the US. He said in Swahili they have this word. It combines tradition with reason. Yes, tradition, but reasonably, what are the imperatives of our time? I think that's a truly cultured way of thinking. This focus on the past. I do not know how that can help me deal with the complexity of the present. I understand the embedding, but to propel me forward, it takes extra imagination, new thinking to propel me forward. We've just been too backward looking.
But it's also the fact that, I mean, the modern African state, basically, as Mamdani will argue, is basically reproduce the whole colonial enterprise.
Exactly.
And so they behave like a colonial institution, they are extractive, they do all those different stuff. So its manifestation in terms of its officials, whether modern, formalized, or traditional, they're also part of the whole agenda.
How do you dismember that?
Yes.
People like Mamdani, that's really what they were talking about. Just Mamdani in New York now, causing waves politically. His father, Mahmoud Mamdani, brilliant, subject. Absolutely. So this is really the challenge, I say to the youth. I'm not sure how you see your political role today, but can you just try to break? There's something that we need to break the mold so that we can move forward. We are still in an old sort of mold, still a colonial setup in many ways.
And education is not helping us well, because we believe that this should be. For me, I always say that one of the major problems of our country, of our time, is the structure. Is the structure of the society.
It started
way
beyond. It started back. I mean. The structure, it's good that you mention it, because we all we have the same format, the same thing, the same format. So at the end of the time, it boils down to the same thing. So we have another story. Serial rapist jailed for 28 years. For me, it's the serial rapist for me. This means this person has been doing this over and over. I mean, serial rapist. 28 years. Is it enough for a serial rapist?
Well, I mean, I think for me the whole issue of rape, you should be condemned. You should be put aside.
Castrated.
That might be.
Castrated might be
too much. I mean, you should be put aside. Definitely.
That might be too much.
28 years cannot be compared to the life that you have destroyed. Like you're just being put somewhere, but somebody, even surviving, is going through psychological problems. But to the extent that one becomes a serial, I mean, that means society has a lot of problems that we need to address.
Well, 28 years of your life in jail.
Once in a while, you're going to have these sort of things.
You
know what I mean? I was reading an article the other day, and it is said that in any society you go to, maybe 2-3% are psychopaths. Any society you go to, really. And you have another sociopaths. The trick is you have mechanisms and structures in place that you can catch them, prosecute them. That's really what the key is. But once in a while, you are going to have reports like that.
Exactly. Well, one thing I know, rape is a serious crime.
Obviously.
But
It's a
at
capital
some,
crime,
at
yeah.
some point too, I think the judgment that is made sometimes need to be weighed with the situation. Probably, you know, there is a situation that happened until, I mean, that situation came about. I don't know what actually happened. I've seen people that are accused of rape, and after later they realized it's not, and they've spent their time in remand.
Yeah, I mean, that also do happen. But then, of course, in the case of Gambia, most of the cases that you see is mostly minors, against minors. If you follow the trend over the period, you see that it's rape against minors in most cases. You know, and so for me, those are the, you know, it's really worrying to see those kind of stuff. But in other instances, yes, we've seen football players accused of rape and later maybe not. But what happens is, like, let there be due process of the law, and when the due process of the law is followed, if one is not guilty, you know, one is not guilty. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's move on. We have another story. Rainy season not yet over, says chief meteorologist.
It's good to know, because just recent days, people thought it was done.
Yeah, especially the first one before this last one.
So people thought it was done, and then it happened, I think last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Last Wednesday.
You know, in fact, we've stopped even seeing stagnant water in our streets.
Yeah. But it also shows maybe the rain patterns is also changing. And before it starts around May, June, and then goes all the way to September, October-ish. But now we are saying that might be going all the way to November, possibly. So since it's not over, so one has to still be prepared.
Absolutely. And then you ask, what would be the implications of it? You know, in terms of agriculture or whatever, then how do you deal with that? Really, it's about that kind of thinking. It's good to hear that from them so that you begin to think about what to do next.
And plan, because also like there's high likelihood that foods and all those things would be delayed.
Exactly.
So there could be hunger within that period. So it's always good. That's why science is always very good, that we know and put it included as part of our development processes.
We talk about evidence-based.
Policy
making and all of that. But what do we mean by evidence? That's really what it is.
So, Auditor General Supreme Court case begins in chambers.
Yeah, I think that's a landmark case. I mean, I don't know whether landmark case or landmark, but landmark case in the sense that I think a lot of people will have a lot of interest in following the case. Because it's a constitutional matter, and I think it is both testing the powers of the president, but also the strength of our democratic process.
You know what surprised me? I mean, for an Auditor General to be removed from office, there should be steps taken. I mean, there should be some criteria that should be taken. But it's like this Auditor General is out of office, and it's like everything is silence. Nothing is done.
Yeah, because if things go to court, I mean, things will be silenced because the court now is the final arbiter. I think that's why people, and I see that a lot. People complain about so many things. It creates noise, but the minute it gets to court, people say, "Okay, let's wait for the court to decide." On one side, that is showing trust in the court system. But then for what you're talking about in this case might be different from many, because the argument now is he accepted, he did not accept, you know. So those are things that could be clarified, especially for the public. If you're a follower, you might not be too sure what happened, but I think the court is an opportunity for the court to clarify those issues, and that's the purpose of the court. And that's why we have courts, so that when people are in conflict or people have different disagree on particular issue, they go to the court for the court to decide based on our own legal realities what the situation should be. And that's why I always encourage people to go to the court, use our court system to be able to address certain grievances.
True.
That's an academic talking.
So
for us, the nature of the change was just rather curious.
Yes.
Suddenly you said you appointed this person, and for us, the first question was, oh my God, what's the connection between Modou Cissé and being a minister,
Minister,
of trade?
We've exhausted the time already, and we are about to close this segment. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mboj. Sermati, thank you very much for coming.
Just as we are about to squeeze the juice out of this, you've stopped it.
Director is not allowing me to
Spoil
continue. So, Sermati, thank you very much. Viewers will take a short break, and after the break, the program continue. We'll be back.
Opticalia, Gambia's leader in optical care with 5 locations offering the best in visual health. With cutting-edge European technology, Opticalia delivers single vision lenses in just 20 minutes. At Opticalia, we care about our future. Eye exams are free for individuals under 18, ensuring everyone has access to quality eye care. But it's not just about vision. Opticalia also provides advanced audiology services to ensure your hearing health is in the best hands. Our audiology services offer European standard hearing aids and diagnostics, ensuring everyone can hear clearly. Whether it's testing or treatment, you can trust Opticalia for your auditory care. Opticalia offers European standard products, fair prices, and exceptional value all under one roof. Visit Opticalia at the Tropic Shopping Center near Senegambia or call us on 7767-121 or any of our regional branches. Banjul 7767-126. Brikama 7767-123. Farafenni 7767-124. Basse 7767-125. Opticalia. Love what you see and hear.
Naine dake network koto mi yalonko wole warta nyimbanko kan adung adabe soniaring wole nyama. Imuna fang telefono la mi yalonko abe seniaring adung internet wobe tariaring. Nyindum kiusel dorna sinyin nati aleno. Ibori yela kiusel line ota. Customer care mi suti atima. Bi. Kiusel network ko mi warta network ko beti adung adabe soniaring. Kiusel sunu boss. Ntolla nga silo walang dulia bulan noma.
Yeah, we are back. You're watching QTV this morning, and I am Ibrahim Balde. Now let's move on to the You and the Law segment. And we have lawyer Abdullah Fati, founder A Fati and Co Law Firm. Good morning, Mr. Fati.
Good morning, Mr. Balde.
It's
and Mr.
good
Mboj.
to have you here.
I'm happy to be back.
Good. Yeah, so we'll be discussing the rights of suspects under police custody. And it's a very important topic to deal with because most of the time police arrest people and most people don't know what their rights are. So it's important for us to make this clear to the public, what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do under police custody. So we'd like to go through what are the rights of an arrested person.
Okay. Before we even go into the substance of rights, once you are actually under police or any security services custody, the law says that obviously we have laws. If I come and shake your hand, that's not a crime. Well, unless if, for example, there's a residue of some prohibited substance in my hand that causes you harm. But otherwise, to call somebody by their name or something, there's no harm in that. But the law also says that you should not stab somebody, or you shouldn't commit murder or rape or something of that sort. So the law is saying that anybody or a suspect, somebody who is suspected of committing a crime, or an accused person, a person who is alleged to have committed a crime and is actually charged with an offense under our criminal legislation, then the law is saying that that person must be arrested, detained, tried, essentially prosecuted, and punished according to law. So we you know, as individuals or society, we come into conflict with the law, and individuals are arrested. So firstly, when a person is arrested, the police can arrest, you can arrest, a private citizen can arrest under certain circumstances, but generally it is the police or the drug squad, what I mean the security sector institutions that arrest. So when somebody is arrested, but let's focus on the particular time of arrest. So Mr. A is probably found on the street, and the police believe that this person is in the act of committing a crime or has just committed a crime. So in those circumstances, the police may arrest that individual and have the person under police custody at that place and subsequently at the police station. But in terms of arrest itself, the law gives the police powers to use reasonable means, and the law word here actually is reasonable means to apprehend a suspect. If, for example, that person is resisting arrest or is trying to escape, in those circumstances, reasonable means may be used to arrest that individual. But the law is also saying that it would not be lawful or it would not be legal for the police or any institution exercising that arrest at that particular point to use reasonable force or more force than reasonable or more force than necessary in order to apprehend that individual at that particular point, that it wouldn't be lawful. So that means the law is saying that under normal circumstances, you arrest somebody and everything should be okay. But where somebody is forcibly refusing to be apprehended, the law gives you some leverage to use reasonable means. And here may be reasonable. But again, that has to be taken into context. Maybe 5 police officers, especially maybe PIU, a lone person, and we've seen in the past maybe even a female within a certain confine. So the likelihood of that person actually evading them is very, very unlikely. Yet you probably see a certain disproportionate use of force. I don't think that is the intent of the law. So it's very important that probably it is clearly understood that the use of, actually it is reasonable means, but it's also saying that but force shall not be lawful if it is disproportionate and unreasonable. But anyway, so when a person is arrested, they should be informed of the crime they had committed, unless obviously they were arrested during the commission of the crime, or they've escaped from lawful custody, in which case they would have known why they were arrested. But otherwise, they should be informed. The Constitution actually is saying that they should be informed within 3 hours. But generally, they should be informed in a language that they understand. So if the person speaks Mandinka, Wolof, Fula, whatever, Jola. So speak to them in a language that they understand, so that you're able to explain to them exactly.
Professionally, I've realized, I know when police arrest a suspect, I mean, they tell you, okay, you have the right to remain silent, anything said will be used against you in the court of law. But
that's what you got from the movies.
I have witnessed arrest in the Gambia, and the police never said that. That I can attest to that. I've witnessed arrest. They'll just come arrest you and take you.
Actually,
is it that we don't have to say that as Gambian police?
I am actually, you're triggering something, because I'm actually thinking when I've visited police stations. And when statements are and stuff like that, I'm actually thinking now, I am not so. I've actually had that before.
You do not.
So I think we can reasonably conclude, therefore, that I don't think that is so much a practice. It may used to be.
Yes.
I think when I was younger, perhaps, but it was the colonial training. Standards were much better, perhaps. But I think, but I am not so this happens.
No, I've not heard that.
Now. But you're right. So you need to be told that you have a right to remain silent. You also have a right to consult
a lawyer.
A lawyer.
And when it is not available, we can provide, the state will provide it.
Okay, so actually now, under the new, because we have now the Criminal Offences Act 2025 and the Criminal Procedure Act 2025, which is even more human rights friendly, which is in line with international standards. So now, for certain offences, murder, rape, treason, arson, those are the ones that the National Agency for Legal Aid, NALA, actually help people with. Maybe when there's more money and resources, then they'll expand to other offences. But right now, these capital offences. So that attract life imprisonment. But so to inform you that actually, not even when you do, whether you can. So you have a right to consult and engage the services of a lawyer of your choosing.
Yes.
But also that actually NALA is available for free of charge at the expense of the state.
Okay.
For these offences. But for ordinary offences that for example, there's even a duty on the arresting institution to make sure that a family member, a next of kin, is informed as reasonably possible. But also, it doesn't even have to be even a lawyer. A member from the CSO, somebody like Said Mati, somebody from the civil society organizations. You may want somebody like Madi Jabate to be there when your statements are obtained, and all of these things as well. This is just to safeguard against abuse of state power.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. There are all of these rights. But again, to my mind, anyway, the loopholes, reasonable force, reasonable according to whom? It's the individual's judgment in the end, not disproportionate force. Well, there is a case, there's the coroner's inquiry now about Omar Baji, and we've been hearing stories about, police brutality and all the rest of it. So, in your experience, yes, how well do we keep to these rules? Our police force or uniformed people, how are we with keeping to these rules when we find ourselves in this situation? What's your experience?
I have respect for the police and our security for the work that they do. But I have to be also honest in saying that, I visit police stations, police headquarters, Brusubi, Senegambia, all different places. And if I have to give a rating in terms of compliance with the requirements of the law, particularly mandatory requirements of the law, even so far as requirements under Chapter 4 of the Constitution of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms, then I will probably give police a very, a very small,
low rating.
Low rating. Because
out of 10. Out of 10.
Let me give you the figures, but it will be particularly low. But let me give you an example that I think occurs all the time and keeps reoccurring. When somebody is arrested, like I said, you explain to them what they have done. The idea of the law is that the person's personal liberty is sacrosanct. A person should not lose their liberty unless under exceptional circumstances. So somebody somebody makes a complaint that my neighbor, that there's a small altercation, breach of the peace, okay? People do youth brewing attire, raising voice and stuff like that. So there's no violent crime or anything of that sort. But because one party has a connection to the police, if that were the case. So a person is called in and they arrive. On the normal, the contemplation of the law is that you tell the person this is what you've done, maintain the peace, and something of that sort. But if you also believe that there is a more serious stuff, then you can detain the person. But according to the letter and the spirit of the law, you can deal with that in maybe in 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on how busy you are. Let the person go, maybe caution them, and that's it. But I have seen where for very minor offenses, misdemeanor, where even if you're taking that person to court and they go to court and actually plead guilty, the fine is maybe $1,000 or something of that, sometimes even $500 or in punishment for. So even where they go around and say, I've actually done this. So you look at what is actually rationale now in keeping that person for days, wasting state resources and the rest of it. Not saying that there may not be a merit. Somebody may commit a misdemeanor, very minor, but there may be a reason why that person ought to be prosecuted. But here, 72 hours, for example, the Constitution, which is the supreme law of our country, is saying that when a person is arrested in the police custody, so the maximum you can keep him for is 72 hours. So within that 72 hours, the police have to decide, or drug squad, that you either release them on bail, self-bail, or family members can come deposit ID cards and other things, whatever they believe is a reasonable recognition. Or, but either way, you ought to take him to court, not later than 72 hours. In my dealings with the police on this issue, and this has happened over the last years, and it happens all the time, but it doesn't, I wouldn't say it appears, because it is not appearing. The case is that the police assume that the starting point is actually 72. And you bring it down. So therefore, they have to exhaust every minute, every hour, every second. Yes. Whereas the contemplation of the law, the 72 is actually supposed to be the uppermost. Yes. This is the threshold. So nobody ought to be there. Well, if somebody's charged with, if somebody's committed murder is not a bailable offense. So that doesn't fall under this. Yeah. But for normal, especially for small altercations and stuff like that, when there's no seriousness to liberty, to somebody's life or property or stuff like that. But they will just park you there. You're not told what you've done. A statement has been obtained from you. A family member or no family member knows where you are. You've not been told that you can consult a lawyer. And you've been there for maybe, actually it is not uncommon that they actually stay. And that happens all the time. That people are actually detained, not taken to court, not bailed, and goes beyond the 72 hours. And in my experience, when I visit police stations, especially during the weekend, so when this is on a Saturday or on a Sunday, or even on a Friday evening, normally what they will tell you, but we cannot do anything now. We cannot take them to court. But that is the reason why the law gives you the allowance to release the person on bail. For them to report back on a Monday morning, and you take them to court on Monday. But the law doesn't say weekend, 72 hours doesn't have an exception. It doesn't say, well, it's a public holiday, or it's a Sunday, or it's Christmas, or it's Tabaski, or something. It doesn't. It says 72 hours. So that means every minute or every second in the calendar constitutes that 72 hours. So, but I've seen that from very senior police, they tell you, Mr. Fati, it's weekend. What do you want us to do? But in terms of the use of proportionate force, that may boil down to training in the classroom. But, okay, so 10 officers go to somebody's house, for example, and whether the person is suspected of being engaged in burglary or theft or stealing, or whatever it is. And we have seen social media footage sometimes, and we have to be careful with social media, but some of these are, facts, where the person have actually been apprehended and actually in cuffs, and while the person is walking, you have the police behind the individual, particularly the paramilitary, and while the person walking, the person is still being kicked. For example, it's like, hurry up. When you do that, you can break somebody. So the law, as far as the law is concerned, you didn't do that. But let's just say even during the apprehension, especially when you are carrying firearms and stuff like that, even where the person is resisting arrest, but whatever force you use should correspond to the force that you're receiving from the other end. And we all know that, for example, when an individual, one person against 5, 6, 7 paramilitary officers, it's very reasonable to say that that person can be contained within a reasonable period. I don't think this should take more than a minute or two to really contain and apprehend that individual. But you know, a few years ago, I saw a footage of a female within like sort of like an enclosed sort of like surround, and where the person she was still being kicked or pushed or something like it. So in that footage, she did not pose any threat or any risk whatsoever. So to the use of force under those circumstances, so far as I know, would be unlawful and disproportionate.
That's it. So what redress is open to me when my rights are violated?
You can go to the High Court. You can go to the High Court under Chapter 4 of your rights, because that is a violation of your so many others.
Absolutely. But I need a lawyer to do that, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The money bit.
Absolutely.
You see really the downside of this. So many
people. But this is a very important question. You don't necessarily have to go to the High Court at the first instance. You can go to the National Human Rights Commission. And the National Human Rights Commission since 2018 have actually been doing a tremendous job in this. One boy from Brikama, Sane, I think this was in the summer of 2019, the late Gorgin Mbub.
Yes.
I think it's Mbub.
Yes, Gorgin Mbub, yes.
When he was at the anti-crime unit. Yeah. So this young man was arrested at night in Kololi, and I think he was hit with a hole on his manhood. It was painful, and he suffered some. So the National Human Rights Commission intervened in that matter. The matter never went to court, but I can tell you the Gambia Police Force actually paid him compensation. But the National Human Rights Commission wouldn't cost you a penny. But I've also been involved in instances where, because it's the National Human Rights Commission, sometimes you believe that I'm going to give the court more respect, but the National Human Rights have powers in these things as well. But that's a very serious question. That's probably why we need to open more avenues to make sure that access to justice, particularly in enforcement of violation of fundamental rights and freedoms, one should not be deprived of accessing these rights as a result of one's financial means.
So can a suspect refuse to answer questions in police custody?
Yes, yes.
They will slap you.
And that is what usually, I'm not so now, but back in the day that's what used to happen. But now, I am not so. But I've also been in police, maybe on behalf of my clients, for something, when over the counter somewhere and you're hearing a police officer, you know, I've been warning you if I
absolutely.
Yeah, something like it. Yeah, so if you refuse to answer, and you say you have a right, you know, you exercising your right to remain silent, I think this angers them even more, and probably thinking that you are provoked. So, but I think training is crucial here, theoretically, but practically. But I also think, so Alaji Bora Sisao, a few years ago, 3 years ago, he was arrested, kept for more than 72 hours. He went to the High Court. Judgment was in his favor, and I think there was an order, $500,000 is against the state. And the return of his phone, of phones that were seized. As far as I'm aware, neither the 500,000 or $500,000 has been paid, nor has the phone been returned. But again, that is where there's another fault line, because normally these orders against the state as this mammoth institution, and it's the state that preserves law, and it's the state that takes us to court. But when the state is at the receiving end, the state has a terrible habit of accepting court orders. So that is another place we have to look at. The state has to demonstrate good faith to respect decisions of court. But the state expects citizens to do so, but the state itself
it's not doing so.
It's not doing so.
Absolutely. When you have officials thinking that somehow they're above the law, that is a very interesting
one. But the state
should embody the law.
The state is not this artificial. The state is the people.
Exactly.
That is why they say the government, the state derives its powers, or all states, organs of state, derive their powers from the people. So the sovereignty of the state resides in us, and they exercise that sovereignty on our behalf.
Absolutely. But I just want to ask you this. Here, in our kind of society, sometimes it appears as if authority can seem harsh. The one in charge and the ward, if you like, be it parents and their kids sometimes, be it teachers and the students. So the person in authority, especially when they wear a uniform, they feel that anybody who does something wrong, the wrongdoer, should be punished. We are very quick to punish. So perhaps these sort of normative reflexes, that's the biggest hurdle people like you will face, because it's culturally almost embedded. We hit everywhere.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So in a way, but that's why the new criminal law, because the old law was 1933. The new one came into, so the new one has international best practices. So the idea is not only to punish, but to rehabilitate and to make sure that we find certain means of remedying society, even where a crime has been committed. Whereas the colonial law is fixated on punishment, and punishment alone doesn't serve. But to come back to
the
this,
colonialists, they were our enemies.
Yeah. And there's a reason
That's why they want to punish
us. But you raised an important point, especially people in authority. I go to police stations sometimes. I go in, you ask who is the senior person, the OC or the SO, and you go and speak to them. Basically, it's that, you know, my client or this individual, as far as I've been, according to my instruction, basically, that this person has been here for 4 days. The 72 hours has expired. And you're trying to do this in a very polite manner. Like, can we facilitate bail at this stage? Because you're actually beyond the limits prescribed by the Constitution. You can meet some that are very understanding. They may not do what you're asking, but at least they're polite and reasonable in their conduct, in your engagement. But you have some that are very bullish. Last year, in 2024, in April, that is when Mar Nyang, Omar Champion, and some youth went to Banjul at the Arch on the ferry issue. They were at the Arch and there was no, you know, so it was a Sunday, so you bring a lot of police officers and they were arrested, and, you know. So even the use of those resources and everything else for 3, 4, 5 youth, you know, what are you trying to achieve? But anyway, they were arrested. I went to the station. Some other people came later on. So we were there. They were subsequently released on bail around 7, 8 p.m. But when I arrived at the police station around 1:30, 2 p.m., this was on Sunday, the Deputy Inspector General of Police was there. And I asked the duty officers that who is the most senior person. They said, well, the Deputy Inspector General is here, upstairs. And I'm thinking, well, it's in a Sunday. I cannot think of anything else why he will come to office on a Sunday, perhaps if it were not for this incident. But anyway, I said, let me go on, because the idea was that, especially people like Mar, who are traveling all over the world. He was at the White House or the State Department. I'm not saying that is
of course.
that if he committed a crime, but I'm just saying basically, these people are just expressing frustration over the ferry. There's no harm to the state. There's nothing. This is almost like using a hammer to crack a peanut, basically. So the idea was to go and tell this guy, as Gambians, as brothers, can you let this guy, people be granted bail? Because the longer they're here, and this has already started attention on social media, especially people like Mar, the international media, because of their connection, with hold of this. But in the end, what it does, it paints the police really bad name and the state in itself. Anyway, I went to his office, and I'm going to say this here, because it's important that we, you know, and I went and I introduced myself that I'm, you know, Mr. Fadi, I'm a lawyer, this and that. Maybe because I was wearing tracksuit and whatever, it was on a Sunday. But anyway, this man literally kicked me out of his office within 90 seconds.
Who was that?
I think he's one Mr. Sow.
Deputy Inspector General.
I think he was, yeah. He was the Deputy Inspector General of Police. But anyway, I went in there and he said to me, I'm not here to talk about personalities, but this is related to your question. People in power in those circumstances. So if you can treat me, I'm not saying I am some, but
of course.
I was there in a professional capacity.
In fact, your cap should be respected.
Yeah. So I went there and I said to him, Mr. Fati, I'm here from Salford.
Yes.
Can I just whatever? I said to me, and then he said to me, I have nothing to do with this and that. And I said, but you cannot be the deputy IG.
Absolutely.
And then this has nothing to do with you. Yes, I know police have hierarchy, but this is not a murder case, not a treason case, not whatever. This is a simple misdemeanor case. So let's, but he said to me, Mr. Camara, that's why he didn't even listen to what I was saying.
Absolutely.
I said, no. And that kind of answer was like, it's not Mr. Camara, it's Mr. Fati. But anyway, he said to me, basically it was like, I'm telling you for the last time, leave my office or basically I'll kick you out. But basically, the whole thing lasted about 90 seconds. And I went thinking, but I'm thinking I'm waiting for an opportunity when probably I have a formal invite at the, or have course at the police headquarters. And I will remind him because I don't believe if you can treat me like that, what about the people that they arrested at that level, especially when you say you exercise your right not to speak?
Exactly. So, Mr. Fati,
so emblematic.
We have exhausted this time. I wish this would have continued. This is a very interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, you and the law. I think this time needs to be extended. Huh? Yeah, so thank you very much for coming.
No problem. Thank you so much.
For giving us your time.
No problem at all. No problem.
We've learned a lot. There are things that
good exchange.
Yeah, there are things that we didn't know. And now we've known Mr. Mboj, isn't it?
Well, we sort of suspected. He just confirmed our suspicions.
Yeah, so viewers will take a short break. After the break, then we'll talk to Alhaji Usman Jah, Imam of the Taqwa Mosque. We'll be back.
QCell, the fastest growing network in the Gambia, now presents to you the eSIM. QCell's eSIM allows you to electronically scan a code and join the world of digital SIM cards. Customers with physical SIMs can easily switch to the eSIM as well. So rush now and get connected with an eSIM and start using the latest mobile technology with your trusted GSM operator. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunubus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Bokal si network bu gëna rëy gëna yombale si réewi Gambia bi fii jëfandikool call bu set internet bu gaaw li yëpp si njëg bu yomba fii si QCell dawal léegi si suñ customer care bu la gëna jege ñu may la QCell line te doo si fay dara QCell network bu gëna rëy te it gëna yombale si réew mi fii QCell suñu bas ñoo xaali yoon bi ñeneen toppa.
These tracks have become my wall, my arena of victory and fear. I relentlessly walk, push, strain, and stretched. Moments when every fiber of my being screams, give up. But the fire within me won't let me quit. Despite the burning muscles, in this sport, every moment matters. Every second counts. My failures, my dreams, my pain, my triumphs, they propel me forward beyond all limits. I am Gina Mariam Basbite, and this is Sunyubus.
Yeah, so we are back. You are watching QTV this morning. Mbokk yi delsi nañ ak Imam Ousmane Jah amoon na ba semaine yu passé ñu ngi doon waxtaan islam ak politique. Dañ demoon ba ñu waxtaan si politique boobu noonu yonente Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam bum génnee àddina ba kalifa yu doon ñëw kii ñëw ñu ne xaw ma dañ ko jox Aboubacar la imam am na foo taxawoon de place bu interesting bëggoon na nga fàttali ñu jërëjëf na ngeen def imam
ñu ngi lay nuyu Mr Weltare jërëjëf bég nañ pour bokkaat ak yéen programme bi
jërëjëf naka woon sa trip bi up country naa ne tànga time bi de
dafa hectique lool waaye sant yàlla trip bi ba tey jeexagut sax tey ak ëllëg lay jeex tey la ñu nekk BCC
ok so dañ demoon bañ àgga si kalifa yi waaw dañ bëggoon depuis yonent salaam génne àddina
waaw am
na ku jëloon dañ amoon a council of elders ñu dee recommend ne ok nañ jox kii nii waaw fo comme si diggante boobu lañ amoon
jërëjëf Weltare lu am solo la pour di ko topp suñ ko toppee danañ xam problème yu bare tey yi dox ci diine ji fan la jógee pour bañ a répétaat suñ bopp bi fi yonent bi sallallahu taala wa sallam jógee waxtaan nañ ba agsi ci Aboubacar toog na gannaawam wax nañ naka la toogee Omar toog na gannaawam wax nañ naka la toogee Ousmane toog na gannaawam waxoon nañ it naka la toogee waaye problème bi fiñ taxawoon mu ngi yem ci bi ñu reyee Ousmane ibnu Affan
waaw
di ñetteelu kalif boo xam ne dafa tegu ci islamic principle ci lañ ko taajoon waaye moom dañ ko rey bi ñu ko reyee fa la problème commencé juddu ñu ngi ko rey ci atum fanweer ak juróom ci gàddaay yonent bi sallallahu taala alayhi wa sallam wala boog ñu ngi ko rey ci atum fanweer ak juróom ñaar waaw ci gàddaay yonent bi sallallahu taala wa sallam biñ ko reyee dafa fekk ci lañ tànn Seydina Aliyu ibnu Abi Talib fekk Seydina Aliyu fi ne moom mooy ki des ci magi eldas yi Madina yi mu toog fekk ku ñuy tuddee Muawiya kenn la ci saxaaba yi moom gouverneur la waaye mu nga fu ñuy tuddee Cham Cham suñ ko waxee Syrie ci la bokk Libanon ci la bokk léegi bi Aliyu toogee dafa binda gouverneur si wan leen ne Ousmane kat rey nañ ko léegi man lañ tànn
moom dafa yëgale boppam
waaw xam nga time boobu ni gouvernement daan demee ak tey bokkul because niñ daan tànnee
waaw
nekkul élection elders yi ñooy tànn suñ taajee ba pare nag office am dafa war a yëgal nag gouverneur si li xew ba mu yëgalee gouverneur bi nekk Cham di Muawiya li xew ne ko sa mbokk Ousmane de rey nañ ko tam Ousmane mook Muawiya gouverneur boobu benn famille lañ ñoo bokk benn famille maanaam su fekkoon ne tribe la daal dañuy wax ne ñoo bokk benn tribe
waaw
ñu ngi koy tuddee Banu Umayya bi mu ko bindee wax ko loolu wan ko ne ko fal nañ ma kooku daf ko tontu ne ko man duma nangu sa leadership féeg ñi rey suma mbokka mi yóbbuwuñ leen ci justice Ousmane suma mbokk la
waaw
so dañ ko rey yow léegi yaay head of state léegi ñooñ nañ leen yóbbu ci justice
yóbbu leen ci yoon
nañ leen yóbbu ci yoon atte leen su boobaa ma door laa nangul waaye féeg defuñ loon man duma la nangul fii la coow li commencé Aliyu wan ko ne ko yóbbu leen ci yoon moom forcé la waaye réew il faut mu amaale njiit il faut mu amaale leader
waaw
su ko defee ñu door a def investigation ci ñu door a investigate xew-xew bi teg leen ci yoon ndax xew-xew bi muy xew dafa critical ndax jamonoy aj màkk la te ñi nga xam ne ñoo def jëf ji ñi ci ëpp ci biti lañ jógee ñi ñu ngi jógee Égypte ñi jógee Irak ñoom ñoo def jëf ji kon dama bëgg nga may ñu ba réew mi dal su ko defee ñu toppa kees boobu kële ne déedéet
mu bañ
loolu du fi am fii nag la xëccoo bi xew Aliou bi mu toogee dafa def Kuufa ca Irak mu nekk capitale yi Islamic State bi
mooy Kuufa
waaw Kuufa ca Irak waaye kii moom Muawiya moom mu nga woon Dimishq maanaam mu nga Sham ca mooy boori Suuriya
ok
léegi loolu dafa indi xëccoo diggante ñaari dëkk yi dëkk bi nga xam ne fi la Aliyu ne of course dañuy support Aliyu waaye dëkk bi Muawiya ne ñoom dañuy support Muawiya coow li bare saxaaba yi ñi nga xam ne ñooy saxaaba yi yonent bi sallallahu alayhi wasallam ñoom itam ñu xaaj ñaar ñii ànd ak Aliyu ñii ànd ak Muawiya fitna fii la tàmbalee bi fitna bi tàmbalee ñu nekk di xëccoo ba ñu dajee xeex ñu di ko tuddee maarakatul jamal dellu dajee xaat xeex ñu di ko tuddee maarakatu Siffin bi xeex boobu amee ba xeex bi métti ci jamono fukki fan yu njëkk ci weeru Tabaski armée Aliyu bi ñu bugg a not armée Muawiya bi Aliyu moo jël armée moom jógee ca fa mu nekk dem dajee ji ak armée Muawiya bi ci fu dendeek fa nga xam ne fa la Muawiya nekk dawmatul jandal biñ xeexee bañ gis ne armée Aliyu bi mu ngi bugg a not armée Muawiya bi soldaari Muawiya yi jël alquran jam ko jël seen xeej dañ daan am yu ndee xeej yoo xam ne daf dee ñaw
waaw
ñu jam ko ci kaamil yi ñu yëkkati ko loolu lim miin mooy nañ leen tëral ngànnaay yi te ñu dem alquran àtte ñu lu alquran àtte ñu def ko Aliyu ne moom d'accordut ci loolu because lii trick la waaye soldaaram yi ne ko déedéet comme que oo nañ ñu ci alquran nañ tëral ngànnaay ñu toog ñu waxtaan Aliyu ne comme que loolu ngeen d'accord bisimilah Aliyu form délégation am teg ku ñuy tuddee Abu Musa al Ashari mu jiital ko Muawiya def délégation am teg ku ñuy tuddee Amr ibn al-As ñu dajee lu ñuy dajee mooy naka la ñuy def ba problème bi xeex bi dekk suñ diggante naka la ñuy def ba mu jeex te xeex bi wax naa ne li ko waral mooy Muawiya dañ ko tuumaal ne definitely position bi Aliyu ne moom la bugga waaye dafa layee ne balaa ma laa nangul sa leadership gi il faut ñu àtte ñii
waaw ku rey kële
waaw ku rey Ousmane léegi ñaari délégation yi biñ dajee ñu nga dajee ci foo xam ne fu ñuy tuddee Juufa ci boori Saudi la mu ngi soree Madinatu Munawwar 900 kilomètres soree Dimishq fi nga xam ne fa la Muawiya nekkoon 500 ba 600 kilomètres foofu noonu la soree biñ dajee lañ waxtaan lañ d'accord mooy mbir mi daal du mën a solve mukk feek folli huñ Aliyu folli Muawiya il faut ñoom ñaar ñu folli leen su ko defee nit ñi seet koo xam ne
kooku amul benn
ñu tànn ñu d'accord ñu ne bon nag nañ dem report yi ci seen leaders yi ca report ma fa la lépp yàqoo bañ demee ca report ma ki nga xam ne mooy head of comité Aliyu bi di Abu Musa al Ashari moom mu jóg liñ d'accord mu def ko ne moom folli na Aliyu folli na Muawiya folli na leen maanaam moom moo njëkk a wax ne moom folli na leen daal wàccee na leen kële jóg Amr ibn al-As ne dégg ngeen kii li mu wax de mu ne folli na kii mu ne man fal naa kii
mu nekkaat beneen coow
mu nekk coow
kon imam coow politique bi yàgg na fi
non
kon ñun lu ñoo gis nii yëpp
problème yi ñuy dund yëpp fii la jógee ci l'islam
fii la jógee waaw
problème mu l'islam yi tey bi yëpp fii la jógee xaaral ba ñu dem rek coow li jóg nag léegi Aliou ne waaw man kay comme que kii maa ko ebaloon te mu ne folli na ma man bàyyi na armée bi soldaaram yi xaaj benn kuréel ne ko déedéet sañuloo xa bàyyi because soo bàyyee rek ab yéefar nga because yow la yàlla taaj fii te yow yaa war a toog te lii wor la yow yaa war a toog am ñoo xam ne ànd nañoo moom ci soppoon nañ ko léegi ñooñu nga xam ne ñoo disagree ci armée Aliou bi
waaw
faction ñu taxawal seen bopp ñoom itam seen faction yi bopp ñoom la ñuy tuddee xawaarij te ñoom itam ba tey ñu ngi fi xawaarij mooy ñan mooy ñi nga xam ne dañoo wax ne Aliyu yéefar la Muawiya yéefar la Amr ibnul Aas yéefar la maanaam ñi nga xam ne daal ñoo Aliyu lim nangu lële da bon yéefar la Muawiya lam ko nangu yéefar la Amr ibnul Aas kon ñoom yéefar lañ kon ñun dootuñ àndate yéen ñoom itam ñu jël seen mbooloo
waaw
dem dëkki fu ñoo tuddee Haruriya ca boori Irak
ok
ñoom foofu lañ dem bés foofu lañ
foofu la xaajaloo bi commencé
foofu lañ def seen bés léegi Aliou toog na lu mat 3 years from 37 to 40 yoo xam ne government am stable politically amul benn doole because waa Sham fi nga xam ne fa la Muawiya nekk ñoom nangu luñ ko te ñoom dañoo bare te dañoo bare doole te dañoo bari tic-tac léegi moom amul benn government bu stable mënut a def dara ba mu nekk ci ba 40 years ba xam nga wax naa leen ne 37
waaw 3 years
ba 3 years moom Aliou ñu rey ko ñan ñoo ko rey ku ñoo tuddee Abdourahman ibnu Muljam Abdourahman ibnu Muljam kenn la ci soldaaram yi ko against
waaw
li tax mu nangu xoon ñoom soldaar yooyu wala boog ñoom xawaarij yooyu ñoo dajee ñu ne léegi solution bi mooy nañ rey Aliou rey Muawiya rey Amr ibnul Aas ñoom ñetti ñii ñooy problème kenn ku ci ne man dinaa rey diw ñu d'accord waaye bés bi ñu war a def mbir mi ñaar ñële féel kenn ki ok succeed ki waroon a rey Muawiya ak waroon a rey Amr ibnul Aas ñu féel kii moom succeed mu dal di rey Seydina Ali loolu mu ngi ko rey ci atam 40 ci bi migration amee ba tey bi mu ko reyee léegi Aliyu mu ngi am doomam ju ñuy tuddee Asan ak Useynu diiru ñetti at yi Muawiya moom mu ngi def campagne bu baax pour nu muy sampee boppam loolu la doon campagne léegi bi nga xamee ne Aliyu gaañu na doomam bi ñuy tuddee Asan moo war a toog Asan moom situation bi daal neexu ko affaire yi xëccoo fii affaire yi tuur deret fii moom daal loo safu ko mu di communication muy communiquer ak Muawiya naka la ñuy def ba ñu nangutoo ne moom Asan dafa withdraw baxee ko Muawiya on condition ne Muawiya moom itam du ko jox keneen suy demee ba muy bàyyi mbir mi dafay dellu ci yoon comme nañ daan tànnee Muawiya d'accord Asan baxee ko ne ko ban léegi mbir mango foofu nag jullit ñi xaw nañ fee am jàmm léegi ci la Muawiya door a nekk xalifa balaaw loolu yëpp mu ngi nekkoon gouverneur
ok
waaye léegi nag xalifa la
mu nekk
xalifa la moo jiite jullit ñi ñëpp nag mu continuer moom Muawiya boobu ci ay campagne am di campagnal doomam bu ñuy tuddee Yazid pour bu fi jógee meaning ne lam d'accord ak Hassan defut ko waaw politically moom itam mu nekk ci lool lu man 2 fukki at amee na ko gouvernement bi nekk na 3 years ci jamonoy Aliyu mu nekk ko gouverneur nekk 19 ba 20 years ci bi Aliyu gaañoo lépp moom moo jiite mbir mi moom itam mu gaañu ci 60 maanaam juróom benn fukki at ci gannaaw gàddaay bim gaañoo balaa mu gaañu fekka campagnal na doomam bu ñuy tuddee Yazid ba Yazid boobu moom lañ samp ba Yazid toogee fekk imaam Aliyu moom it mu ngi dese beneen doomam bu ñuy tuddee Useynu léegi waa Iraq bi nga xam ne fa la imaam Aliyu nekkoon ñoom bugguñ leadership bi Muawiya waaye bugguñ leadership bi doomam it di Yazid ñoom ñu binda Useynu doomi imaam Ali
waaw
ci Madina ne ko ñun nanguwuñ ci ki nga xam ne moom lañ teg ci boppi gouvernement bi boppi réew mi ñun dañoo bëgg a yow nga ñëw ñu fal la nga toog di def la sa papa daan def because yéenay dereti yonent bi leetar yi takkarnaase ci moom it mu dogu ne dafay uy ji ñi ko oo
fekka moom ana twin brother am bi
moom bàyyi na ba after gaañu na
waaw moom dafa bàyyi
xam nga moom dafa bàyyi
léegi Ousseynou moo fa des
Ousseynou moo fi des Ousseynou léegi dogu na ne moom dafay uy ji oote bi moom it ñu advice ko ne ko Ousseynou be careful de gis nga fi nga dem ay workat ñoo fa ne bul fàtte ne ñoo rey sa baay soo bu leen uy ji mu ne leen comme que ñoom dañ ma oo ci te liñ ma oo yàlla la
waaw
dëgg-dëgg mënuma ñàkk dem Ousseynou dogu ne dafay dem ànd ak gàngooram ñi koy support ak ñëpp daal waaye wax naa la ne problème bi mu amee ci la saxaaba yi ñi nga xam ne ñoom la ñuy wax tey ne ñoom ñoo gën ci nit ñi pour wan la fitna naka la bonee
waaw
ñoom fi ne nii ñëpp lap nañ li ëpp ci ñoom lap nañ ci biir fitna bi ñii féete nañ farle nañ
waaw
ñi bokk nañ ci ñi xeex ñi bokk nañ ci ñi support
toppa seen bugga
yëpp fi ne nii daal ñoom ñëpp lap nañ ci biir fitna bi léegi bi nga xamee ne Seydina Ousseynou jógee Madinatu Munawar pour dem fële na le Irak ndeke gaa yi dañ leen trap
mooy Ousseynou
waaw dañ ko trap ñoom xawaari ji dañ ko trap xawaari yooyu biñ leen trapé bañ ñëwee dafa am place boo xam ne moom la ñuy tuddee Karbala dafa am ndox mu fa ne xam nga ndox yombutoon Arabia biñ àggee foofu gaa yi ndeke kileen nañ leen foofu soraawun nañ leen mënatuñoo dem mënatuñoo wëññeeku léegi ñu soraawun leen foofu lu yàgga suñ xiifee duñ am luñ lekk suñ maree duñ am luñ naan koo ci xam ne mar na ba sonn ba dem pour naan ci ndox mi te mu ngi tudd Nahru Dijla gaa yi fett ko mu dee noonu lañ def leen ko ba jël Ousseynou ci boppam rey ko dagg bopp bi
ndeysaan
yóbbul ko ku ñuy tuddee Abu Ziyad bi nga xam ne moom ci njabootu Muawiya bi fi ne nii moo nekk ci jal bi pour bégal ko won ko ne ko rey nañ Ousseynou boppam bi mu ngi nii noonu la mbir mi demee bés boobu nag nga xam ne ca lañ reyoon Ousseynou ma wan la fan la lii ñuy tuddee tey sunna ak chia fan la sosoo gis nga bés booba ñuy rey Ousseynou bésu Karbala boobu
waaw
moom la ñuy tuddee Ashura yowmu Ashura
waaw
nga gis ne yowmu Ashura bu jotee am na ci ñi ñuy tuddee jullit ñoo xam ne bésu jooy la bésu naqar la
waaw
dañuy dóor seen bopp di mbécc seen bopp di génnee seen deret ñoom ñooy ñi nga xam ne ñooy chia ñooy ñi support imaam Aliyu ñooy ñi support njaboot ak imaam Aliyu
waaw
because ñoom ñoo nekkoon ci dëgg ñoom lañ support ñuy méttit lu li nga xam ne moom lañ def doomam jooju
waaw
moo tax ñoom ñuy def loolu
ok
ñi nga xam ne tey ñi nga xam ne ànduñ xoon ak
waaw
imaam
Aliyu waaw
xaw ma naka lañ leen di ooyee ndax ñoo tudd sunna tey wala déet waaye lu ci manti xew beneen kuréel bi ci jullit ñi
waaw
mooy ñi nga xam ne yawmu ashura dañ koy jàpp bési mbégte maanaam fexe nañ ba ñu defar bés bi ba nga xam ne bu bés bi jotee bu kenn xelam daj la xewoon lu metti la ca xewoon waaw am na ñoo xam ne ñoom itam loolu mooy seen liggéey fexe ba la xewoon ci bés ba bu ko kenn xelaatati bu ko
dégg la
loolu moo indi tey sunna ak chia
imaam lii am na solo de
léegi
waaw
bi nga xamee ne wax naa leen ne lajnatu tahkim
waaw
mooy délégation bi nga xam ne ñoom ñoo doon négocier
waaw
pour mën a juboo ñi nga xam ne ñoom la imam Ali ebaloon
waaw imam suñ time bi dugg
waaw
léegi foofu tam imam lii dafa continuer
waaw
next Thursday incha allah dañoo continuer waxtaan bi xam naa ne time bi dina gara waaye I think ne fii next Thursday imam war nañoo am benn segment de pour programme bi mun a
amul benn problème
waaw so viewers thank you imam jërëjëf thank you very much viewers this is all we have. We'll be back here on Wednesday to continue this topic. Until then, bye.